We begin. The discussions this time shall go with the last kind of tense or verb tense, especially that we have managed to finish all other three tenses. We've had our discussion on the simplest form of tense, the simple tenses, simple aspect. We've gone as well with our discussion for the perfect tenses. We've managed to go last time as our last lesson for the first quarter with the progressive tenses. And so we are left with the last one, which happens to be the combination of the second and third tenses of verbs. So this morning, we shall go with, for what? We shall go with the perfect progressive tenses. This verb tense should tell you that actions came to be ongoing. Yes, actions were indeed at some point continuous. Then, also, there came a time that these actions got completed. It's possible that they got completed or perfected in the past, or sometime in the present, or at a point in the future. Still, we should not forget that these actions that got completed were also at some time progressive, continuous, or ongoing. To start, we have our present perfect progressive tense. The present perfect progressive tense tells you that there is an action that started in the past. Take note of that. The action started in the past. And it turns out that that same action is still going on. It is up to the present time. Take note of that. The action started in the past and has been going on up to the present time. How do we form the present perfect verb? We make use of any of these two helping verbs, has or have, and then we add been, then we make use of the present participle form of the verb. So there are three words that constitute this present perfect progressive tense. Again, you choose from has or have, then you add been, then you add the present participle form of the verb. You choose has if the subject is singular. You choose have if your subject is plural. And then let's remind ourselves as well, how does the present participle form of the verb look like? Jeremiah, describe the present participle form of the verb. How does it look like?
It ends with an ing.
Correct. If the main verb, take note, if the main verb ends in ing, then that main verb is expressed in its present participle form. I'd like to once again bring out one of the things that we've mentioned during the first quarter, gerunds. Gerunds end in ing, and they also denote actions. But gerunds do not function as main verbs. They function as nouns. Our focus here would be for the present participle form of the verb, which is a main verb. And it also ends in ing just like gerunds. I hope that you be guided by the words that come before that ing main verb. You could either see has or have plus been, and then the ing form of the verb. For example, your base verb may be steal. Steal, it could be steal. And then to express steal into its present perfect progressive form, you make use of has plus been, then its present participle form, which is stealing. So you arrive at has been stealing. If the subject turns out to be plural, you make use of have. Then you add been, then you add stealing. So you have been stealing. And then what's more important here is that you should be able to correctly use that verb or our present perfect progressive verb in a sentence. Let's have a sample. Um, Rafael, I hope you don't mind. I'll make use of your name in our example. Here's our sentence. Rafael has been studying his lessons in English for some time now. What does this statement mean? Before this statement was said, before this statement was given out, Rafael has already done the act of studying, or sorry, not sorry for the word done, has started the act of studying for his English lessons. And then the act still goes on. It's still it's still a continuous action. It's still an ongoing action up to the present time. The action has unfortunately not been perfected yet. It's just that it started in the past. It has started in the past and is going on up to the present time, up to the time that it was said, or this statement was said or released. Thus, the verb is expressed in the present perfect progressive form. Another example. Dylan, I hope you don't mind. I'll make use of your name.
Excuse me, sir?
I hope you don't mind that I'll use my sentences.
Oh, it's okay, it's okay.
Even if your sentence is this simple, Dylan has been taking yoga lessons. Even if it's this short, this sentence tells us that Dylan started the act of taking yoga lessons in the past. And it went on up to the present time. The action of taking yoga lessons has continuously been happening up to the present time. Nothing has been completed yet. It's just that the act was recognized to have started in the past, and at the moment the statement was said in the present, the act of taking yoga lessons is still true. It's still an ongoing action. Again, making the verb a present perfect progressive verb. Let's have a subject which is plural, because so far the two sentences I have given here have singular subjects. Correct. The students in the class have been listening to music of several genres. So you have there a group of students. And then at the time this statement was said, the speaker or the one who gave the statement recognizes that the students started listening to music of several genres in the past. And then when this statement was released or said, the act of listening to music still goes on. The students have not ended yet the act of listening to music of several genres. They're still doing it at that time, at the onset of this said statement. When it was released, the statements or the action in the statement still holds to be true. Again, the action is still ongoing. Thus, the verb is expressed in the present perfect progressive form. And take note, one important thing that you should be reminded of, aside from verb tense, please consider subject-verb agreement. In the first two sentences, Rafael is our subject for sentence 1, Dylan is our subject for sentence 2. In each sentence, the subject is singular, and so we made use of has. Has being a singular helping verb. In our third sentence, our subject is students, not class. In the class, in our third sentence that says the students in the class have been listening to music of several genres, that word class is part of a prepositional phrase. And as said in one of the many rules of subject-verb agreement, a prepositional phrase placed between a subject and the verb generally cannot affect the agreement of the two. And so we are reminded that the subject is students and not class. Given that the subject is students, we should acknowledge it to be plural in number. Singular form is student. With students being plural in number, we pick a helping verb which is also plural in number, and that is have. Any question regarding the present perfect progressive tense? In fact, if you look at what's found in the module, one example there says, I have been reading War and Peace for a month now. That means that when the person said the line, it is a recognition that before it was said, the act of reading War and Peace has already been done since. It's already been done in the past. It's just that, sorry, not been done. It has been started. It was started in the past. Sorry, it was started in the past. However, the act of reading War and Peace has not stopped. At the onset of the statement, the person is still reading, is still going on with the act of reading War and Peace. That makes the verb expressed in the present perfect progressive form. Questions? Any question? If there's none, allow me to proceed to the second perfect progressive tense, and that's the past perfect progressive tense. The past perfect progressive tense bears, of course, the same, more or less the same purpose of having a perfect and a progressive verb. It's just that this action happened in the past. It did not get the opportunity of reaching the present time or the time at the onset of the statement. This tense of the verb tells us that an act was going on in the past. There was a continuous action sometime in the past. However, that action got completed as another action took place. So the past perfect progressive verb happened first and got completed, ongoing when it happened, and got completed when another action came out. In effect, we have the past perfect progressive tense. How is it formed? We make use of another helping verb, and that's had. We pair it with been, and then we make use of the present participle form of the verb. With the use of had, we can't really say whether the verb is singular or plural because it's a past helping verb. At least that's quite a saving point. Regardless, we are more after of its proper use, recognizing that that action should be the one that was going on in the past and then got completed when another action took place. Try to keep in mind the best way, the best angle to see or to make use of the past perfect progressive verb is with the presence of another action. The presence of that other action in the past signaled the ending of that continuous action which also happened in the past. Before we go into sample sentences, let's have a sample verb, base verb, and then we shall conjugate it into the past perfect progressive tense. Let's use study. Our base verb is study. Its past perfect progressive form is had been studying. If your base is type, its past perfect progressive form is had been typing. If your base verb is encode, its past perfect progressive form is had been encoding. And again, keep in mind, these verbs were ongoing in the past, but they got completed. When did they get completed? When did they stop? When did they get perfected? When another action came out in the past. Let's have a sample sentence. Jeremiah, I'll use your name. I hope you don't mind. Jeremiah had been searching for his books when his classmate called over the phone. So there are two verbs involved in this statement. The act of searching, and that is had been searching, expressed in the past perfect progressive form. And the verb, the act of calling, the verb called, expressed in the simple past form. What does this sentence tell us? What's the story behind this sentence? Simple. Jeremiah, in the past, Jeremiah did an act of searching for the books. And it was a continuous act. He went with it for some time. It was an ongoing action. And then came the call of his friend. The call made by his friend ended Jeremiah's search for his books. So right after Jeremiah received the call of his friend, the searching for his books came to an end. So the action got completed in the past until another action took place. Let's have another example. Whose name? Who else do I use? I'll just use my name. Wait. Wait. I'm coming up with another sentence. Sim had been speaking in several languages until the teacher asked him to speak in front of the class. So look at what's going on. Look at the story here. Sim, in the past, spoke in several languages, and the act of speaking in several languages was ongoing. It was a continuous action. And then the teacher called Sim to speak in front of the class. The teacher asked Sim to speak in front of the class. When that happened, when the teacher called the attention of Sim to speak in front of the class, Sim's act of speaking in several languages came to an end. The act of speaking in several languages was going on. It terminated at the time that he was called by the teacher to speak in front of the class. Thus, a verb in the past perfect progressive form. Sir, will it be all right if my statement is I hope, because I feel like during the STs, one of you will come up with this kind of statement. Jeremiah had been searching for his books. Technically, what would make this sentence better is you indicate another verb that signaled the end of that action in the past. Technically, if I were the student, to arrive at a sentence that makes more sense, and applies much the rules behind the use of a past perfect progressive verb, I would require myself to add an extra clause that says or indicates the action which signaled the end of the ongoing action in the past. However, I have to also tell you, if you make a statement of this sort, I'll consider it. I will. I will consider it. Why? That statement that says Jeremiah had been searching for his books already tells me that there was an act of searching for something in the past and it got terminated. There was an ongoing action in the past which eventually came to an end. I just did not know. I just do not know when. That's the only issue. I just do not know when that action came to meet its end or termination in the past. But the statement, the last statement that I've placed in the chat box, the one that says Jeremiah had been searching for his books, that already shows an ongoing action which got completed in the past. The statement makes sense. It does. But to make more sense of it, it would be better for you to indicate again another clause or provide another clause which contains a verb that indicates when that action got terminated in, when that ongoing action got terminated in the past. Consider my second statement. Sim had been speaking in several languages. Same thing, same story. If we arrive at that statement, we would know that there is a person who in the past spoke continuously or did in an ongoing manner the act of speaking in several languages. And eventually it came to a stop. It came to an end. The issue there is we just do not know when. To resolve the issue, it would be better to add a clause that provides a verb or contains a verb that indicates when that action came to an end. And so I have the more or the longer version of the sentence, the one that says, Sam had been speaking several languages until the teacher asked him to speak in front of the class. Any question? You have their examples found in your module. For example, the one that says, he had been drinking milk out the carton when mom walked into the kitchen. So there are two verbs included in that statement. One that says the person was ongoing with the act of drinking milk out of the carton, and then came the mother into the kitchen. The act of drinking milk was going on. It was continuous. And then when the mother came, the person had stopped drinking milk out of the carton. I had been working at the company for 5 years when I got the promotion. Had been working. Consider had been working. The person was going on with the act of working. And then came the promotion. The act of going on with the work, the act of working, which is ongoing, was continuous and got perfected when the person got a promotion. Any question regarding the past perfect progressive verb? Do we have any question? If there's none, I'll proceed to the last. No questions? If there's none, I'll proceed to the last. The future perfect progressive verb. For the future perfect progressive verb, we are told that we could make use of will or shall. And then we make use of have plus been plus the present participle form of the verb. Take note, this verb contains 4 words. We choose from will or shall, we add have, we add been, then we add the present participle form of the verb. 4 important components to comprise a verb expressed in the future perfect progressive form. Let's have an example. Let's have a base verb. Let's assume that the base verb is attend. So you could have will have been attending as one option. You can also have shall have been attending as another option. Another base, you may have deliver. Will have been delivering is one option. Shall have been delivering. Sorry. Shall have been delivering is another option. By the way, for disclaimer's sake, because anytime soon people will find this video once again on YouTube. For disclaimer's sake, the verb forms that we've had so far are expressed only in one voice. We'll have a different lesson soon on another module on the transposition of these verb conjugations to another voice. We are this time in the active voice. So it's important that you do not lose your modules. Please, please. Do not lose your modules. Do not lose whatever it is that you have learned so far, because by the time we proceed to the lesson on the voices of verbs, when we transpose verbs into other conjugations, we are going to make use of the same 12 verb forms from simple to perfect progressive and have them conjugated in the active, transposed in the passive voice with 12 other conjugations. I think I mentioned it last time. A verb has a total of 24 verb conjugations. 12 active voice verb conjugations and 12 passive voice verb conjugations. Soon we'll have the passive voice. But for disclaimer's sake, for the meantime, what we have here are verbs expressed in the active voice. So there you have again the formula on how to create a verb in the future perfect progressive tense. You make use of will or shall, together with have, together with been, together with the present participle form of the verb. Again, 4 words make up a verb in the future perfect progressive form. When is this verb applicable? When is it used? We are told here of a verb that will go on. It will continue in the future up until some time or up until a particular point in time in the future. It is just not definite. Remember the future perfect verb. The future perfect verb differs from the future perfect progressive verb in a sense that the future perfect verb has a definite time in the future to consider. It's quite certain when it will happen in the future. As for the future perfect progressive verb, this continuous action, this ongoing action, which will still continue up until the future, is just not known when it will, it's just not known for us. It's just not fully told when exactly in the future, up until when exactly in the future, this action will continue. You have an example there found in the module that says in November, let's have that for example sake. I'll have another example later. In November, I will have been working company for 3 years. There. That's the example found in the module. It says, in November, I will have been working on my company for 3 years. The thing here is, we are not sure when exactly in the month of November that includes. So we are aware that the person was going on with the act of working. At the time that it was said in the present time, the act of working was started in the past. It had started in the past. When this statement was said in the present, the action is still going on. At some time in the future, when the future time comes, the month of November was mentioned, the action will be continuous still. We just do not know when exactly by November it will continue, up until when in November it will continue. All that was told is there's a time in November, and by then my act of working in the company will have been able to reach 3 years. That's it. It's just not so definite. If you go back to our examples for the future perfect verb, we made use of words like by the end of this month. Well, at least that's clear because every month has an end and we know what that end is. If it's in reference to the demonstrative pronoun this, at least we're aware that it is in reference to the time to the month when that statement was said. So we go into the last day of that month as reference. Thus, we make use of the future perfect verb. In the absence of a definite future time reference, but there's a mentioning that it will happen in the future, we make use of the future perfect progressive verb. In acknowledgement as well of the action that was going on in the past, when the statement was said in the future, in the present, it was still going on. It's just not sure up until when in the future it will continue. I'll give you my example. Keen, I hope you don't mind. I'll make use of your name. For one. Keen will have been. Sorry. Keen will have been preparing for his exams that are to be taken soon. So this tells us that there's an act of preparing. There's an act of preparation for exams. The act was started in the past. At the time that it was said, the act is still going on. And there is a recognition that this will continue up until some time in the future. For as long as exams are still going to be taken, while exams are still going to be taken soon. Sir, what if my statement turns out to be as simple as I will have been studying the lessons in English. Sir, what if my sentence turns out to be that simple? Will you accept it? Will you consider it? Technically, let me go back to being technical on this matter. Technically, you're supposed to indicate something that tells us of a time reference, even if it's not certain, that's certain or definite compared to the future perfect verb. That could have made the statement more complete or more in the context of a verb in the future perfect progressive form. Technically. But I should tell you, if you give me a sentence of this simple context, I will have been studying the lessons in English, I will still consider it. I will still consider it. Why? Your sentence tells me that the person I has done the act of studying in the past. When it was said the person is still studying, and the person will not end it yet. The person will still continue with the act of studying. We are just not sure when, because there's an absence of time reference. But we are aware that the person will still be going on with the act of studying up until the future. It's just not sure when. The future perfect progressive verb. Any question? Any question? Please try to consider the note found at the bottom part of your module. The note says that non-active verbs do not use the future perfect progressive form. Rather, for the case of non-active verbs or dormant inactive verbs, they are ended at the future perfect form of the verb. Non-active, these are verbs that do not really show any form of mobility or action. Like you have the word no. If you encounter the word no, like look at the word no. Imagine the word no. Can you see any form of action going on with that word in a sentence? For example, I know what you meant by your message. If you see or if you encounter a statement of that sort, do we have any image in mind of what the act of knowing shows, like how it is physically done? Unfortunately, there's none. However, it is a verb. It is in fact a verb. It's just a non-action verb. It's an inactive or a dormant or passive verb. And in that case, their conjugations will end with the future perfect form. Of course, it could still be expressed in the future progressive form, but it can't anymore go as far as the future perfect progressive form for verbs that are non-action, passive, or inactive. Please try to keep that in mind as well. Any question? It might sound, by the way, fine at the start, like I will have been knowing these information when my mother comes home. Well, it might sound right, but technically the verb should not reach the future perfect progressive form. It should have just ended with a future perfect form. What better way to state that statement is, I will have known plenty of information when my mother comes home. Questions? Please do not be surprised if from time to time, especially with our lessons in grammar, I made mention of technically, in a technical sense, in a technical perspective. I couldn't really help but do so because, once again, we are focusing on the rules of grammar. We're looking at the rules of English, especially that we're talking of verbs here. It's quite technical and it's quite technical in a sense. I mean, if you just look at verb forms, like how they're created, conjugations, function of verb tenses, that's being technical in itself. So I think I'm on good grounds on being so technical with my approach when it comes to understanding sentences. But don't worry, don't worry. If once again, I've made mention of it earlier, if your sentence turns out to be very simple, like I'll type sentences in the chat box. A part of me doesn't want to really do this because this is probably the kind of sentences you'll bring in the ST. But I just have to really do it because this is to also give justice to your kind of sentences. You might think that they're wrong, but they're not. They're still going to be considerable. But if you could arrive at a better sentence, then please do so. Try your best to arrive at a better statement. If your sentence is, she has been telling me stories, that's fine, that's correct. This tells us that the person, she, did the act of storytelling in the past. It has started in the past. And the act goes on up to the present time, up to the time that the statement was said. The storytelling act was ongoing, continuous. If your statement evolves into she had been telling me stories. It's stories, sorry. She had been telling me stories. This means that the person represented by the pronoun she in the past did the act of storytelling and it was going on. And it recognizes that at some time in the past as well, the act came to a stop. The act ended. We just do not know when it ended in the past. That's the only problem there. We just do not know when it ended in the past. But still, the sentence already makes sense. We are made aware that there was an ongoing act of storytelling and it ended, period. The only issue, I couldn't really help but mention this, the only issue is that we are not told of when it ended in the past. Still, your verb is already in the past perfect progressive form. What if your statement goes into this one? She will have been telling me stories. An action was started, going on, yes, and it will reach the future time. It will reach the future time. We just do not know up until when in the future it will take place. That's the issue. We are just not told of up until when in the future this action goes on. But the sentence has a meaning in itself. We know what the sentence means. The person, she, has done the act of storytelling, has started it. When the statement was said, it was still going on. And it's a recognition that the act will go on until the future. We just are not told up until when in the future this will take place. It's just not made so clear for us up until when in the future this is going to take place. Thank you. Thus, you look at those three sentences. Thus, a verb expressed in three conjugations. The first one, present perfect progressive. Second one, past perfect progressive. Third one, future perfect progressive. Sir, can we do this during the SP if you ask us to make sentences like we'll just have the same thought, present, past, future. Personally, that's what I thought many would do. Yes. That's what I really thought many would do. Like they'll just have the same set of words more or less, except for the verb as the verb changes in tense. One was started with present, the other one the next time it becomes past, and the third it is placed in the future. That's what I was thinking. To my surprise, you are really so good at giving me varied sentences. There are just minor errors, so please be very extra careful. Pay extra attention to minor errors and capitalization, punctuation. I give so much regard to them because, again, I do not want that students may think that minor errors are considerable. While there's an opportunity to correct these minor errors, let's correct them. No matter how minute the error is, we shall try to correct those minute errors. Many of you went through that experience in the checking when I checked your STs, in the checking of your STs. Misspelled words are not pardoned as well. So please be extra careful. Any question now? Any question regarding the perfect progressive tenses of verbs? Perfect progressive. Yes. Any question? Your module contains 7 FPs. Yeah, it does. I look forward to seeing your answers tomorrow. If there are questions, please do not hesitate to ask. If there are questions, please, I beg you, ask me those questions tomorrow. As of this time, we have 12 student participants. I do not know where the others are. The good thing here is this video recording will be made available on YouTube. I'll upload it later on. And then maybe your classmates can find the time to look at the videos, to go over the discussions that we've had this morning. Questions? Any question? Anything that you'd like to ask regarding tenses of verbs? If there's none, one final reminder, please. Today is the deadline of the performance tasks. By evening of tonight, you listen to my sentence. You listen to my sentence. By evening of tonight, I will have been recording your PT scores. Why is it? Why is it that I'll make use of the verb will have been recorded? Wait, by evening or tonight? That's redundant. Erase, erase, erase. By this evening, this evening, by evening of tonight. Does it make sense? But sorry. There are people who will be watching this YouTube video. At least I've learned to correct my own mistake. This evening, tonight. I will have been recording your scores coming from the performance task. Excuse me for a while. So again, I made use of will have been recording because it is not made certain when tonight, that up until when tonight that action will continue. But for sure tonight that action will come to an end because I have to perfect the act of recording to prepare my records for the transfer for the what is this? For the grades which shall soon be released to each of you. So to those who have not submitted their performance tasks yet, you have until 5 p.m. Please make sure to have the submissions done until 5 p.m. today. Let's hope and pray that your PTs would be strong enough to help lift up your scores. If they don't, just make sure, people, that if the quarter does not end with a good grade for you, promise yourself to do better during the second quarter. It's not yet too late. I tell you, it's not yet too late. The school year has just started. The school year has just started. We are still, as of this time, we have just opened the second quarter. No, the school year has not started. That's not for us. We are already going through halfway this school year. The second quarter has just started. There's still so much that you can do for the 3 remaining quarters. This quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. Piece of advice, whatever grade you get this quarter, if it ends up with one that is not, allow me to be honest, not pleasing to your sight, don't be disheartened by it. Not just in my subject, but across your many subjects. If the grade is one that does not please your eyes or that of or those of your parents, don't be disheartened. Just promise yourself that you'll do better in the remaining quarters. And on that matter, once again, I'd like to remind the students, if there's anything that happens while you're taking the ST, if there's a problem in the internet connection, if there is an issue with a reason or there's a reason that you cannot really take the ST on the scheduled time, contact the teachers concerned. I've really been pointing this out because I don't want to assume why students have not taken a test because of no reason at all. I think I deserve to be informed because I'm the one who's giving the ST. Notify me and your other teachers. I could see that there are no questions this time, so I think we can call it a day from there. Goodbye and thank you, grade 8.
Goodbye, sir.